Hello, everybody, and welcome to Jokecast.
Welcome to the first episode of the first season of our new podcast, Jokecast. My name is Vivian Joke.
My name is Jokecast.
And we are very excited to bring this to you. We feel that in this time, there's been a lot of uncertainty and a lot of tensions abroad, and we just think that having jokes and sharing jokes with one another and the world can really help unite us.
It really can. It really can.
Yeah, and so we would really like to extend our arms out to everybody around the world who wants to take part in this joyous experience with us. In this podcast, we have decided we are going to just talk about jokes. We're going to love jokes, and we're going to write jokes. I was actually thinking that we could rate them on a scale of something that we find pretty funny. Like,
I enjoy, like, dilbert, per se.
Well, not necessarily. I think that...
Well, dilbert is the highest form of comedy known to man.
Well, I think you shouldn't say that, because when I read the newspaper, in the comic strip section, I really do appreciate the Garfield comics. I think that they're a better source of humor. Maybe they're a little bit more relatable.
That's interesting you should say that, and I understand where you're coming from.
So we agree. We should rate it with Garfield's.
All right.
Okay.
Let's rate with Garfield's.
That.
Our
Okay.
first joke today comes to us from
a good friend of ours, Jonathan Harris.
Jonathan Harris.
Yes.
Jonathan Harris has sent us this joke. How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? Only one, but the light bulb has to want to change.
I think that this joke really talks to unity and strength.
It really does.
Because, as we are all aware, it is a very turbulent times here in the States.
It truly is.
With nuclear tensions, and, we just came out of the 80s. It's been...
Well, several years ago we came out of the 80s.
Well, no.
Well, a small handful of years ago. But it is, as we all know, it is the late 90s.
As... Oh my god.
Welcome back to Jokecast after our brief intermission.
Yes, I believe we were talking about the psychiatrist
I
joke.
believe we were talking about the psychiatrist joke, and what inspires me what inspires me about this joke is that it really speaks to the beginning of the movement that we're starting to see towards mental health awareness and kind of awareness of one's emotional self as well as one's physical self.
Yes, I think with that, I think it has a deeper poetic meaning because, as we may or may not know, light bulbs are not real people and cannot see psychiatrists.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't considered that.
Yes, and so I think they're using, what is the word? I can't remember. Personification. To explain that even though we use light bulbs every day to power our vision and our thoughts and be able to read our books and our magazines and our newspapers, it is just so important that we remember that these things have feelings.
It's important to take stock of what the things in our lives that we take for granted, what do they do for us?
Yes.
How can we give back to them?
Yes.
So thank your light bulbs today.
Thank your light bulbs today. I think the joke is quite clever. It does not fall into the easy escape of comedy of using some sort of, pun. I've never been too fond of those.
Nor have I. I'm glad we can agree on that.
Yes, that's one thing we can agree on. Anyway, but I think that because it is such a clever joke, it has such a deep meaning, I'd have to give it quite a number of Garfields, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you want to give that quite a number of Garfields?
I suppose that I would want to give it a few Garfields.
Yes.
How many of those would you say that we should give this, Vivian?
Well, I would say that I don't think it made me laugh that much.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the joke in itself was above average, but not quite. So I would say perhaps a 3 out of 5 Garfields.
All right. We'll give it a 3 out of 5.
Garfields.
If you insist.
Yes. On to the next joke. The thing I think about jokes also is that they just are so joyous. Like in Garfield, whenever he says, "I hate Mondays," I can relate to that because I too do not wish to be places on Mondays after a wild Sunday night of hanging out and watching sports.
Just as in Dilbert when he makes a topical comment as to the plight of the American working class. I feel that that is one of the greatest forms of comedy that we could possibly achieve.
I think that you need to stop talking while we start to do our jokes.
All right.
And we will save this discussion for later. Let's tell a marriage joke today. Okay. A college math professor and his wife are both 60 years old. One evening, the wife comes home and finds a note from her husband that says, "My dear, now that you are 60 years old, there are some things you no longer do for me. I'm at the Holiday Inn with my 20-year-old student. Don't bother waiting up for me." He returns home late that night to find a note from his wife. "You, my dear, are also 60 years old, and there are also things I need that you're not giving me. So I'm at the Motel 6 with one of your 20-year-old students, being a math professor. I'm sure you know that 20 goes into 60, way more than 60 goes into 20, so don't you wait up for me."
Ha ha ha.
That was quite an inappropriate joke.
That was not appropriate in the slightest.
I am so sorry for reading that. I didn't pre-read them because I guess we just have very little experience in doing this.
We truly do.
But I suppose we must judge it anyway?
I suppose so.
What do you think?
I hesitate. With the crude nature of this joke, I believe that it draws from a lower kind of form of comedy that is beneath the standards that we hold here at Jokecast that you will find as we continue to put out this show. But I think that it only lowers us to their level if we were to give this a high rating.
That is true. I'm afraid we have to give it 0 out of 5 Garfields. Is that right?
0 out of 5, yes.
Okay. That's okay. And for our final joke today, I think I'll let you choose. Would you like to listen to a blue-collar joke? Or a... You're all racist. a sports and athletes joke? Or a walks into a bar joke?
Now, I feel that in the interest of reviewing a variety of jokes, I think we should go with a walks into the bar joke, because these jokes are very common, yet so often they make classic joke mistakes that will earn them lower ratings, and we'll see how this one performs today.
Okay. Here is one that I have just read, but I will continue to read out loud despite the subject matter as we are into broadening our horizons. 3 men walk into a bar. The barman tells them, "If you can sit in my basement for a day, I'll give you free beer forever." The first man walks out after 5 minutes and says, "It's impossible. You got a swarm of flies in there." So the second man tries his luck, but can't take more than an hour. Finally, the third man goes down. When he returns a day later, the others ask him how he did it. He says, "Easy. I took a dump in one corner and sat in the other corner."
Huh. Now that is an interesting joke, in that it is bad.
Could you explain it to me?
Flies.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I understand now.
This joke is This joke again fails to meet the standard of joke telling that we like to see here on Jokecast. We believe that as a society we can do better than this, and that we have done better, and that we should not be forced to accept these low-brow jokes merely because they are given to us.
Yes.
That is our mission here at Jokecast, is to expose this injustice and to correct it.
Yes. While it is clever in the terms of you have to maybe take a moment to think about it, as I may have had to do, I do believe that it just does not hit the mallet. You know, the mallet does not hit the funny button.
It does not.
It does not tickle the funny bone. I'm afraid that this type of joke is just too vile. I don't know what to say about it.
Ultimately, to me, it's just too disappointing. And thus, the rating that we're going to have to give it is, again, would you say a 0?
I would say a 0 out of 5 Garfields. I would.
A 0 out of 5.
Yes. Garfields. And something that I think before we sign off that's worth noting is just I feel that if jokes continue to not be funny, we as part of the comedy community, as part of people who strive to make the world better through love and laughter, I fear that we may not have much time left unless we start to be funny. Thank you. And I hope that you have the most wonderful day.
I have one thing to add.
Oh, okay.
Seeing as how disappointing the jokes that we have reviewed this week are, if you are listening to this, we do invite you to send us in your joke submissions. So perhaps we can review some jokes that are more worthy of our time and attention.
Yes, please send them to us in a written letter or
by carrier pigeon.
Yes, well, this is a new thing.
Oh.
You could send us to them in an electronic mail. I believe that you just address it normally.
I believe so. Postage.
Yes.
Postage is used, yes?
But you print it out.
It's the 90s.
It's the... See you next week.
Goodbye.